I rounded the corner into the courtyard when I saw him. His name was Paul, and he was the VP of the entire organization. Now, of course, he had no idea who I was. I had started 3 days earlier, and he oversaw hundreds of people. But I knew who he was, because from my very first day, all I heard was his name and what an incredible person he was. Well, I was very excited to meet him, so I shot my hand out and I said, "Paul, it's so nice to meet you. And before I could say my name, he said, "Jared! Oh my goodness, I've been looking forward to meeting you. How has your move from Santa Cruz been?" I was stunned. I was absolutely speechless, which my mom and anyone who's ever sat next to me on a plane will tell you is a very rare thing. And so we started talking, and my shock suddenly turned to ease. In our conversation, I could tell he really cared about me. He wasn't just going through the motions. He wanted to know who I was and how I was doing. Now, towards the end of our conversation, I said, "Paul, that was wild. You knew my name. You knew where I was from. At this point, I'm guessing you know my dog's birthday. I just got to know, how in the world did you do that?" And Paul just smiled and said, "Jared, names matter because people matter. I want everyone here to know that they are not just another number or a means to an end. They are valuable and they belong here." He went on to tell me he would go on the company website and he would download everyone's photo and name and the bio they had written, and he had printed out and put it in a little white binder. And while he was doing the elliptical every morning, he would flip through the pages looking at pictures and names until he could commit them to memory. And then he jokingly added, he said, "Jared, I'm getting older, so it's not easy, and names don't come naturally to me. But I'm at a point in my life where I don't just want to do what's easy. I want to do the things that matter." Now, you can see why everyone loved Paul. No matter who he met, he built genuine connections with the people around him. And here are some of the benefits of those meaningful connections that he made. Number one, it led to incredible influence. Now, this is very different than authority. Authority is, I do what you say because you're the boss, and maybe a little begrudgingly, but I'll do it. Influence is people sought Paul out. They wanted to know what he thought, and they so cheerfully did the things he recommended. Because number two, meaningful connections have trust. The type of trust where you can have your team members feel both vulnerable and secure at the same time. They're not afraid to take chances because they know they won't be fired at the first mistake. Why? Because of those meaningful connections. And number three, the meaningful connections he had also gave way to great loyalty. Even if people waved a few extra dollars in your face, people didn't abandon Paul because they weren't just there for a paycheck. They were there, and they stayed rooted there because of the great connections they had. Now, as we look at this list, don't we want all of these things in our marriages, in our families, in our communities, and where we work? Well, today I want to talk about how we can do this. I want to talk about how you and I can build the type of meaningful connections that lead to an increase in influence and trust and loyalty. And I can sum it up in 6 words. Now, if you and I can remember this one phrase, it will help us connect with anyone we ever meet in any situation. And here it is. Connections key is less of me. Connections key. If you want to know the secret or the key to unlocking meaningful connections, here's the answer. It's less of me. Think back to Paul on the elliptical. There's a number of things he could have been doing in the morning. As he worked out, he could have watched his favorite show or listened to a podcast or stared in a mirror and just think about how awesome and powerful he was. But he didn't. Why? Because he was someone who wanted to build connections with those around him. And he knew that required taking the spotlight off of me and what I want and what makes me happy, and start to think about those around him. What do they need? And how can I support others? Now for us, I want to help you have these types of connections in every realm of your life. And I want to give you a physical reminder to help you remember how to do this. In all of our pockets or purses, we probably have a key ring, right? We have a number of different keys that go to different things. And next time you go to unlock a door, I want you to think about, in addition to unlocking the door, how can I unlock meaningful relationships with whoever is on the other side of this door? So think about your house key. When you go home tonight, as you're unlocking the door, there are so many thoughts that go through our mind. Maybe you had a busy day or you're tired and you're thinking, man, I hope someone cooked dinner for me, or I hope someone cleaned the house, or what can other people do to ask me about my day? But after you've heard this talk, you're going to ask a different question. Your question is going to be, how can I serve my family? Whoever is on the other side of this door and those four walls. Now, there are a number of ways to do this. One might be when you get home, maybe you just put your phone on the counter and you leave it there for a few hours. And you fully invest in the people who are in your home. In the mundane moments and in the exciting moments, we remind them, we're here for you and you're more important than just entertainment. Or maybe you have a child who's really into basketball and you're not a big sports person. But you say, I'm going to learn to love the things you love. Because I'm not just pursuing my own passions and my hobbies and what I want. I remember connection's key is less of me. And I want to learn what you love. And I'll study the sports. Maybe it's not names like Paul. Maybe you're learning team names and player names so that you have a way to connect. Let's think about some other keys you have. Maybe you have a work key. And the temptation is, as we go into work, we're busy, we're overloaded, we've taken on more than we can do, a lot of us, and our emails piling up, and we go into the work office, and our temptation is, how can they help me get where I need to go? But if you want to unlock meaningful connections with anyone you meet, I want you to ask a different question. How can I show up for my team? Now, there are a number of ways you can do this, but some ideas is maybe you walk around the offices, knock and say, hey, how are you? Is there anything I can do to support you? Or maybe you hear about someone doing something incredible, going above and beyond. And rather than just say, wow, that was really cool, and going on with your day, you take 20 seconds and you fire off an email and say, dear so-and-so, I heard about X, Y, and Z, and I just wanted to say it was noticed and appreciated. And it's people like you that make this organization great. Those 20 seconds are an investment in relational capital and a way to connect with the people around you. And doing little things like this will build the trust and the loyalty and the influence no matter where you go. Now, one more. Maybe you have a car key with you. And every time you turn the ignition, if you're like me, you're thinking, how quickly can I get there? What's the fastest route? How can I be the most productive with my time? But after this talk, I want you to ask yourself a different question. Who can I help when I get there? Maybe you're just running to the store, and helping looks like looking up and looking into the eyes of the person that's scanning the groceries and saying, how are you? And when you get the inevitable, oh, I'm good, I'm fine, circling back around and say, oh, that's amazing. What's going good today? Taking time to let people know I'm not just about me and what I need and how I can get where I'm going. I'm about the needs of those around me. And I'm looking for ways to elevate and encourage others. Now, could you imagine if we all did this? Could you imagine if in your homes people were fighting to outserve and outlove one another? Oh, those are the marriages that last till the end. Those are the types of connections where when your kids are old and grown and have left the house and they no longer have to come home and call, they choose to because of that connection. Can you imagine what our work life would look like? Rather than, I can't wait till Friday, that place drains me so much, I'm exhausted, we switch it and people can't wait till Monday because they're going to a place where they're known and where they're loved and where they know that they have a team of people who say, even if it comes at a sacrificial cost to me, I'm going to leverage everything I have for the people around me. What an incredible place that would be. And it starts with you and it starts with me. And if you want to build these types of connections with anyone you meet, then all you have to do is remember this one phrase: connections key is less of me. Thank you.